All right, lads. We just got back from watching the Bruce Springsteen biopic. Jeremy Allen White. You know, I love him from The Bear. A lot of people love him from Shameless. And he's been in a ton of stuff. But when this trailer came out, and I feel like we start every podcast with this, but pretty much everybody that was a Bruce Springsteen fan, and I mean, I'm not the biggest. I remember when Timothy Chalamet's trailer came out for the Bob Dylan biopic, and I was hyped. I mean, I'm born in the USA. Pretty much everybody knows that song, but I was hyped to see Jeremy Allen White portray Bruce Springsteen. And I love biopics. I mean, the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic, the Rocket Man biopic, and on Elton John was amazing. And, you know, you have these iconic bands, these legends of music. You could do so much. We're getting the Michael Jackson biopic too. So we're starting to hit the era of, you know, people doing biopics and starting to talk about the legends that probably we listen to their music and we love their music. And we also love their backstories and stuff that we don't know about them. I came out of this biopic just being like, it was kind of all right. I love Jeremy Allen White's performance in this movie. I think it took me a while. It took me like 10 minutes to be like, even though they start with him in concert being Bruce Springsteen, I kind of had to get used to him being the accent, you know, how he was portraying him with the contacts on. I kind of had to get used to it for a little bit. But then once we kind of got into the creative decisions and him preparing and doing the album Nebraska, which is what this movie was based on. I mean, when they were doing the press for it, and I think he was on the Tonight Show, and he described, and they basically broke kind of the news that it was going to be on Nebraska. I was kind of like, okay, like I'm not familiar with that album, but I think we were talking about it a little bit, and I don't think necessarily that was the right decision to make. I mean, when you have a legend like Bruce Springsteen, and you probably, I mean, a lot of people are familiar. I mean, I'm familiar with Born in the USA. It's probably just me not being a Bruce Springsteen like lover and like knowing of his life. But I think you kind of pigeonholed this story into, you know, him talking about probably an album that means the most to him as a person, which is why they probably did it. But I felt leaving the theater like wanting more. And I kept comparing it to other biopics I've seen. Like, I love The Rocket Man. I love Bohemian Rhapsody. Obviously, Bohemian Rhapsody was loved by people that loved that band, loved that story. And yeah, I just felt like this was an all right performance. I think I'm just kind of getting biopic fatigue from, you know, the Bob Dylan biopic. And then I found myself comparing it to this one. And you know, I'm a big Bob Dylan fan of his music, like some songs and stuff. So I was interested. I thought they did a better job at depicting Bob Dylan in a cinematic way, better than Bruce Springsteen did, than they did with Bruce Springsteen in this movie. I just felt like this movie was not bad, but it wasn't like what I was expecting, especially with a hotshot actor like Jeremy Allen White.
I agree. In general, I think that biopics set out to do one thing. And it's usually picking somebody who's got a bit of a tough story, a bit of a tough stretch in their career, some adversity to overcome, and then showing them through it. So the template for it is pretty standard at this point. The thing that I told you before we picked this up was I walked out of the theater feeling really heavy because they spend a good hour and 50 minutes on his struggles, his depression, his troubled past, his father, his relationships. And then he goes to see a therapist once, at least on screen, cries, and then we flash forward to 10 months later.
I mean, I just didn't like this. That kind of pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie.
And you're taking away from the gravity of his experience moving forward. And he does have this nice moment with his dad where they talk and they kind of reconcile and whatnot. But We don't get to see him breaking big. We don't get to see what happens with Faye's relationship. We don't get to see any of the positives that show him working through his depression, but mostly just kind of stepping back into the old role that he was before, just not suicidal about it. And in an epic biopic, in these really great biopics, I haven't seen the Bob Dylan biopic, but I mean, even take The Smashing Machine, you get to see more of what's on the back end of him coming out from that. And that's what kind of gives you that feeling of success, that feeling of gratitude and enjoyment and epicness. And, you know, actors, fighters, singers, they all go through difficulties like regular people. But I think the reason that why people like these is because you get these moments of redemption. You get these moments of them overcoming these challenges and defeating them, or at least to a point where they're able to go on and continue to do great things with their lives. This movie didn't have that. And we didn't get to see him perform Born in the USA in front of a live audience. We didn't get to see any of the success from any of his other albums. We didn't even get to see the fans' reaction to Nebraska. It was all just implied.
It's like...
And that's Nebraska is one of his biggest albums of all time. And if we're gonna focus so much on it in the movie, why don't we get to see what people thought of it? I mean, come on, that's an easy one. He's
changing his whole entire, like,
his sound, his persona, his style of music, everything. The way he records
Let's hear the reaction.
Like, I wanted to see somebody picking it up off the shelf, going home to their record player, setting it down, putting the needle down, and seeing a montage of people's reactions to it, and then get the statistic that, hey, Nebraska actually did really well. But we didn't get to see that either. And we said it a bunch before we started recording. You said it a bunch a minute ago. The number one thing that this movie makes me feel walking out of that theater is I want more. And I didn't get it.
Yeah. When you walk out of, you know, The Rocket Man, for example, The Complete Unknown, and Bohemian Rhapsody, I mean, I have a tough time when I'm watching biopics to not compare them for some reason. It's because it's all relatively the same sort of medium, and it's sort of the same stylistic choices. You know, you have an epic walk-in, you have these great performances, you know, you remake these like iconic concerts, and you know, you just want to relive it and make it like a cinematic experience. I don't think they just don't have that in this movie. I mean, they kind of started off, you know, with him seeing Born to Run, and then you're kind of like, okay, let's go. Like, that was shot very well, but like, I've seen something better, obviously. They do that a lot in The Complete Unknown. They do that a lot in Rocket Man. They do that a lot in Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, they do it a ton in Bohemian Rhapsody. Heck, they remake basically probably their 5 best concerts, like, perfectly portrayed to where.
And I haven't seen that movie, but the scene of
you haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody?
Calm down. Okay, I'll watch it tonight. Okay, I'll watch it tonight. Just calm down. But the clip of him playing Freddie Mercury, singing that song, starting at the piano and then going into the full song. I've seen that clip on the internet hundreds of times, and it's a chilling performance and a rendering of one of their biggest concerts ever. I mean, if you watch the YouTube video of the actual concert and then you go watch that clip from the movie, you're brought back to the same place. And we didn't get that moment with Springsteen. Springsteen put on epic shows. Why are we not getting one of his, like, truly epic moments, especially after in a moment of triumph? I've said it 3 times now. I'll say it one last. The fact that we didn't get to see him perform Born in the USA live is almost criminal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he performed it in the studio, And me and you are both like jamming out in the theater, to be honest. But I instantly thought like Jeremy Allen White deserves to be nominated for an Oscar just based on that performance, like right there. Like, because I know he was singing it, and it was a great portrayal of the song and sort of the aura of Bruce Springsteen, probably, like, and how it was. But you're right, like, exactly. I would rather have sort of like an epic walkout of him coming to the concert, and then maybe sort of a title screen being like he's on top, or like giving me a description of where he's at in his life, and then him performing Born in the USA right to start the movie. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just don't think, and I get it if it's definitely a more personal story, and I'm not making light of like his life or anything, but I personally, when I go to see a biopic, not only do I want to hear the backstory of, the difficulties and the challenges that they go through, but at the same time, I want you to give, depict, their stardom, correctly and like epic, and this
is like showing a biopic about Tom Cruise and not showing him do any action stunts.
Yes.
What do you mean? It's Tom Cruise. We're going to watch a biopic and not watch him do what he's literally most known for? Come on.
I'm sure Nebraska was, for the time, it came out. It's probably one of the most iconic albums ever, but like that's a problem with us talking about, I'm sure a Bruce Springsteen fan was like, that was a great movie. I loved it. Person that knows like his story and everything, all the details of it. And I did like the portrayals, of what he had to go through with his father, and like him, his relationship with the father, and how they improved that, and how he pushed through that, and why he was making Nebraska. That's probably the biggest strength of this. I mean, Jeremy Strong and Jeremy Allen White's connection in this movie. Jeremy Strong it's pretty easy. He plays his manager, and Bruce and John's connection with each other was definitely the most, because them talking through like why he's doing this, like why he wants it to sound the way it sounds. And they're in the studio and he's getting pissed off at, it doesn't sound the same. We're ruining this album. And he goes, I want to shelve Born in the USA, Born to Run, and all these great songs. And I want this to be perfect. And I'm not going to come out with anything else until this is perfect. Those are great. And I woke up and I was dove in and I was like, okay, there we go. Jeremy Allen White is Bruce Springsteen in this moment. But I mean, when I want to hear about when I want to watch a freaking biopic on Bruce Springsteen, who's one of the most iconic music legends ever, I just want it to be more epic, and I it's not like Bohemian Rhapsody is just depicting, their concerts and everything. They depict Freddie Mercury's struggles completely, and credit that's 2 hours and 15 minutes. But this movie felt pretty long, and it kind of dragged on a little bit at some stages. And yeah, like you said, I felt just leaving the theater wanting more. And I turned to you and I just go, it's all right. It was all right. Because I found myself comparing it to a lot of if you really look at some of the biopics we've been getting, they've been really great. Like, they've been really good biopics of some of the legends that, people love. So, we're also going to be getting a Michael Jackson biopic soon. So, I mean, I think Jeremy Allen White's going to get nominated for this. No doubt. Because he does a great job at depicting Bruce Springsteen. He put a lot of effort into this role. I think just based on, his performance alone, he's going to get nominated. But as a movie itself, I just think it was all right. And I left the theater being like, I wanted to learn more. I'm not as educated on Bruce Springsteen as like much as like the next person. But you got to educate me more on his life, and kind of I don't need you to explain it to me like a 5-year-old, but at least explain some things. I mean, a lot of things just were open-ended in this, right?
I mean, they were. And I think that's my biggest thing, because so when we're talking about performances here, Jeremy Allen White had an amazing performance. Jeremy Strong had an amazing performance. Even Paul Walter Hauser had a great performance, as did Odessa Young and so many other people in this movie. this isn't a movie where you have an A-list group of actors and nobody showed up. Everybody showed up and did their job.
Yeah.
I didn't look at anybody in this movie and go, I wish you'd have done a bit better. No, I was pretty satisfied with where everybody ended up. I mean, their performances were great. But much like with a lot of things, you have to write the story that it's still engaging. If you're going to have a 2-hour movie, you can't have a story that's kind of slow trotting. I mean, we did this with him and a bunch of other movies. But the fact of the matter is, when you have that kind of talent around you, I need you to keep the story moving. And in my mind,
I need you to
you need to make sure you tie up all the story ends. Because here's the thing. We didn't grow up with Bruce Springsteen. He wasn't the big thing when we were teenagers. I know bits and pieces about it. That accounts for the knowledge of, I'd say, 75% of the people that are going to go see this movie. So you're leaving things open-ended going, well, they know what happened to him. No, I don't. In fact, I was hoping to figure it out in this biopic because like I know some of his songs. I don't even know all of his songs. I know some of his songs. And I wanted you to bring me into his story. Like, you know what? The best example that I can think of, it's not a biopic, but it's still a similar set of topics, is A Star Is Born.
That's
an amazing story from start to finish. Absolute standout performances from Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. And everything got tied up at the end. And I'm not even going to say the end of that movie was happy, because it really wasn't. But
oh no, it was sad.
It was a great tie up to the end of the movie where I still felt beyond satisfied leaving that theater. This is about a real guy. You have his whole story. We're not waiting around for the sequel because who knows what's going to happen next. He's not 30 anymore. Like, tell me the whole story. I want the whole thing. I don't want a piece of the pie. I want the pie. Give it to me with whipped cream and a fork, okay? The whole thing.
Give me the rise. Give me the rise. Give me the peak. And then give me Nebraska probably at the end. And then give me the reaction of the fans and how he dealt with it. And then you're also tying into his life and his personal life. Again, it's pretty much every biopic is basically like that. I mean, it's not like it's the same playbook every single time. But, I mean, for example, like if you're going to have Elton John's The Rocket Man biopic was a musical. And I thought it was perfect. And they did so many things creatively with that story and the way it was shot. It was unbelievable. And then Bohemian Rhapsody is like your basic, like, to the playbook, telling the story of their whole entire career, the rise, the fall, diving into Freddie Mercury's story. And you have, I mean, pretty much all these biopics are going to be around 2 hours. You have the time to sort of have these subplots and then dive into them a little bit more. When you just choose to do one album and, it's probably not... and I get it. It's the one that he took the biggest chance on.
Right at the beginning of his career. I mean, he's taken a lot of shots with this album. He is, especially when he has music that everybody else in that world was looking at going, this is what you do to make it big. But I want to know about him making it big. I want to know about the first album. I would have loved the movie to start with him playing in the bar, since that's where he started. Show me some of that into making his first album. I mean, there was even a line in the movie that said we got done with the first album with $20,000 left in the bank and no guarantees. Show me that. You could take 20 or 30 minutes and show me that. And then just pick up where the movie actually started. He's struggling with his past. He's struggling with depression. He wants to go make Nebraska. He's trying to express himself. And you spend 20 or 30 minutes on that. You spend 20 or 30 minutes on his relationship with Faye, and then you get to see him going to the therapist. You get to see him mending up things with his dad, and then you get to go see the world tours that he went on to go and do. You get to see him making the other music that he went on to go and do. You can watch the struggles of trying to deal with depression appropriately during that time. There's so many other options that you could have done that would have given me a complete story. And instead, I got a third
this
of his story.
this was, I mean, thinking back on it now that you're kind of like describing things, it's, you know, when we get to him going through the worst moment of his life and I'm locked in and, you know, I'm ready to see sort of how he's dealing with it, how he overcomes it. And then we get a flash 10 years later, right? It was 10 months.
10 months later.
10 months later. And then we see a shot of John, his manager, you know, tearing up at the performance. That you need to build that up. I mean, you need to build up him.
We do this in sports.
Getting nervous. Oh my!
We give 3-second ISOs before we do those moments. I mean, come on.
It's like build it up, being like he's like almost having a panic attack, gets on the stage, and then just has the greatest performance of his life. And everybody's going crazy. Everybody's kind of nervous. Does he still have it or not? And I don't know if it was like that. If it was just him at the top, you know, people kind of didn't see this sort of, you know, I don't know if it was publicized.
Here's
or not.
the thing,
you know,
I'm going to pick out.
I wasn't really paying attention.
Because you and I have both said it several times. I don't know. I shouldn't leave a biopic saying I don't know.
Yes.
It's a perfect culmination of this entire problem. Is if I leave a biopic going, well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You just watched a 2-hour biopic on the guy. Like this stuff needs to be communicated.
I should be leaving the theater being. I instantly. I mean, when I watched the Bob Dylan and Elton John biopic, I was immediately trying to find which, you know, and I watched Bohemian Rhapsody. I immediately am trying to find, you know, my favorite Queen songs, my favorite Elton John songs, my favorite Bob Dylan songs. I kind of left this being like, okay, you know, Nebraska was a good album.
Right. Well,
it's like I'll go take a listen to it, but I'm not gonna, you know, fall in love with it. You know, it's like I should be walking out of there being like, I want to learn more about his story, but you know, you didn't get enough, in my opinion. You know, we shouldn't be leaving the theater being like, I don't know, and it was all right. We should be like, that was epic. You know, the way he dealt with his depression in that moment, like in the beginning before he got on stage, you know, the way he overcame, you know, some of the things that he was going through. And they did touch on it. It's just they left it so open-ended at the end. And even in the middle of the story, we were kind of jumping from like place to place. But yeah, I just left the theater wanting more. I mean, and I just wanted it to be a little bit more epic. I mean, they made the trailer seem like we're gonna get, you know, these great, you know, unbelievable scenes of him playing in front of so many people. But, you know, we left being like, it's not like I hate the dive bar scenes, but I left just seeing him playing a dive bar and one concert, you know, and a couple concerts, and that was it. And I think
we only got one live concert from when he had started to make it big, because it was just that hip song. And every other performance was either in a studio or at the bar. And I get it. So let's take this from a different angle then. If you want to do the bar concerts as the main thing because that's how he coped with music when he wasn't on tour, because you're feeding into his relationship with Faye, then you got to give me that answer. Okay? I mean, because right now, and I didn't want to look it up so that way I knew the answer before we did this, but when we're done, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look up what happened between the two of them in finality, because I want to know. And so if you're going to take that angle of, hey, here's him playing at bars, here's him going through this process, here's him getting into a relationship and doing all this other stuff, I need to know what happened. Did he go back? Did they become friends? Did they end up dating later on? I mean, give me a little bit more there. I mean, you depicted this as his first and only chance at a semi-real relationship the whole movie, and I don't get to know how it ended? Come on. So, actors, great. Music, great. Creative choices, not so much. Plot and structure, not so much. We talked about it. It's all right. Not great.
It's it's honestly just another biopic. It's not anything. And the thing about the biopics I love the most, I mean, and I've mentioned them multiple times throughout this, is I love how creative they were and, epic they were. They made me feel like you got to make me feel like I was there also in a biopic. You can't, yes, I want to be brought into his life. I want to feel like I'm right there. And I was left kind of just being like, okay, this is very slow. We're building up to like a moment here, but we were just kind of dragging along through his whole entire life story. And, we're only going to learn about one album and one specific moment about his career when this guy has one of the most legendary music careers of all time.
The total time span of the movie was 11 months because he came off of his tour in December. And it sort of finished up in January is when he went to go see that therapist. And then you get 10 months from then. So we don't even get the other 10 months. The story just totally spans 11 months. And I'm going, this guy was a rock star for ages. And you're telling me I get 11 months of his story and some flashbacks to when he was a kid. I mean, come on, dude. Like, we can do better than that.
And it's not like I don't want to say we're making light of, his.
No, because they did a really decent
backstory.
Job of depicting depression and mental health and difficult situations. And that whole story is well done. And it's an important story to be told because, I mean, statistically, 2 men die every minute to suicide. So obviously it's still an extremely important topic to be discussed and story to be told, but you can't just pick an important topic and then put whatever you want around it and expect it to do well. I mean, it's one of your favorite books and movies, Perks of Being a Wallflower. They pick up so much on depression and anxiety and all these difficult issues, but the rest of the surrounding story in that is so good. I don't feel like it's a side topic. I don't feel like it's not supposed to be there. This sort of felt like, hey, this is a story about depression. Also, it's Bruce Springsteen's.
Yeah. And I would just love to see how he overcame that and not give me not give me like when he and that scene was great when he goes to therapy and he breaks down, but I just don't want to see him fade to black. We get 10 months later and then he's all right. I want to see him overcoming. I want to see him
work through it. Give me the rock style, I want to see him Rocky montage.
Yes. You got to show me him walking in and being like, and almost having a panic attack, but then being like, gets up there and then performs Nebraska. Also, come on, I guess, I keep on forgetting that he didn't want it to be, no tour, no nothing.
No tour, no press, no singles.
He's like just that. But I almost just feel like, and we did get a lot of it, him performing the album, at the house, and then him like thinking about what it means to him. But I almost just feel like they could have done a better job at explaining why it means so much to him. I mean, I personally, there was probably a couple scenes in there that I'm probably just like forgetting about.
There's one scene, but it doesn't actually give you an answer. He says, I want it done this way because I don't want to have to explain it, because if I have to, I don't know that I could. Okay, yeah. But after you start going to therapy and you start getting some of those answers, let us take a look.
Yeah, I just felt it was so open-ended. I mean, we're kind of just running around in circles.
We are a little. I mean, we're highlighting a lot of the negative things, but we've also seen some really decent biopics in the last 10 years. And so this one, especially with a guy like Bruce Springsteen, it's just kind rating that we left so much of this on the table. My rating for this movie is going to be a 6.5. I needed so much
Oh my
more
God.
story. I needed finality. I needed his triumphant moments. I needed a lot more. It
Yeah.
wasn't bad. Let's highlight the good. Jeremy Allen White, Jeremy Strong, Paul Walter Hauser, Stephen Graham, Odessa Young, all with great performances. It's a well-shot movie. The editing was done very well, and the music, obviously, is fantastic. Had us jamming out in the theater. But for me to go back and watch this again is not super likely because of all the things that we've already highlighted. So for me, this is a 6.5. What is it for you?
I'm going to give it a 7. It was hard for me to be like absorbed into the world of Bruce Springsteen in this movie. I thought it was slow at times. Like you said, there's not a bad performance in this. It's not like, oh my God, Jeremy Allen White was so bad. No, he's probably the person that carries this whole entire movie.
Him and Odessa Young basically do well, and Jeremy Strong.
And that's the thing that probably like ticks me off the most is their connection on screen was so strong.
No pun intended.
You know, yeah.
Sorry,
but I just felt like it was so open-ended, and I felt like they pigeonholed themselves with just doing one album, and I know it meant a lot to him, but me personally, if you tell the whole entire career of him, and even just spending maybe an hour or 45 minutes on the rise of Bruce Springsteen, and then, you know, hitting the peak and doing epic shots of him performing live, you know, more epic shots talking about some of the most legendary moments of his career, and then him going into Nebraska for probably like the last, like, you know, the climax of the movie, the finality of the movie, and then seeing the reaction from everybody and being like, what is this? You know, instead of us seeing a couple studio heads, you know, hearing the reaction of Nebraska, I would much rather you be like, this is Nebraska, he didn't put himself, and then people are like, what? This is a Bruce Springsteen album? Like, whatever, I'm still gonna buy it, but like, why is it marketed the way it is? Because it was so much more different. If the studio heads are talking how different it is, I want to see the impact on when people see it, you know, on the shelves, they buy it off the shelf, and then they play it, and then the impact it had, and you're like, oh, it's third on the chart. And then him going into, and you can sprinkle in like him going through his depression, and, you know, give me the full story, basically. I mean, I'm giving the whole entire, you know, map of like, you know, what they should have done. But yeah, I just felt so open-ended. And I left the theater wanting more. And when I first saw this trailer, thought it was going to be the most epic thing. Jeremy Allen White is going to be an Oscar-nominated contender. But I think because the movie was so average, he's probably not going to get acclaimed for something that I thought he, you know, put his heart and soul into and did a great job. But I think he's going to get nominated, but I definitely don't think he's going to win the Oscar with like this performance because of how average the movie was.
Well, speaking of Oscars, it's time. Next week, we have 5 hours and 15 minutes of glorious Oscar-nominated worthy movie to see. Brett is so excited. He can't wait. I am going to be decked out in Wicked attire and accessories. He has claimed he's going to pretend not to know who I am, which I think is rude. And, you know, we're gonna get on to the actual Oscar performance of the season. Fun side note before we go to that, Ariana actually got nominated for a Grammy for her performances on Defying Gravity.
Wow. The music.
Yeah, so the music from the musical is actually Grammy Award nominated as well. So just let's
like Taika Waititi said, I guess they're giving Grammys out to everyone.
I mean, if we're giving,
I'm sorry, that was I'm sorry. Okay, she deserves it.
It's fine,
but like,
it's fine because see, here's the thing: he's never seen any of it. So I'm going in with full expectations that the wonder of these movies is going to completely take over. And you know what? If it doesn't, that's fine, because we'll have a very entertaining podcast where we try not to kill each other. So it's gonna be fun either way.
I can't do this. It's gonna be packed theater. I cannot do this. I just can't.
You can.
I mean, people are gonna be screaming the songs in the theater. It's just gonna be wild.
Yeah, I will be one of those people.
I'm not kidding, Gavin. If you tap your freaking rings on the thing,
You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll keep my hands perfectly still. I'm just gonna sing.
I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. I'm just gonna sing. I can't do this. All right, we're ending this now.